Title: The Hotel Room Mystery. The Woman Who Checked In But Never Checked Out. The Disappearance. If you love stories that make your heart race and your mind spin, hit that subscribe button now. Because tonight's case will make you think twice about ever staying alone in a hotel again. The Oslo Plaza Hotel wasn't the kind of place where strange things happened. It was polished marble floors, velvet drapes, and a skyline view of Norway's capital, a fortress of luxury overlooking the quiet city below. But on the night of June 3, 1995, the sound that shattered the silence wasn't the clink of champagne glasses or the murmur of tourists. It was a single gunshot, echoing from the 28th floor. When hotel staff reached room 2805, they found the door double-locked from the inside. Security hesitated. The guest, a woman who had checked in 2 days earlier under the name Jennifer Fairgate, had paid for her stay in cash. No luggage, no passport, just a small leather bag, a few items of expensive clothing, and a Belgian ID card that later turned out to be fake. Inside, she lay motionless on the bed, a 9mm Browning pistol in her hand and a single bullet wound in her forehead. At first glance, it looked like a suicide. But to Detective Eric Holm, the scene didn't feel right. The gun was positioned awkwardly in her grip. There were no fingerprints on the weapon, and the gunpowder residue on her hand didn't match the angle of the wound. Holm crouched beside the bed. No sign of a struggle, he muttered. But his partner pointed out something else. The woman's clothes were immaculate, pressed and elegant. On the desk beside her, an unopened bottle of champagne and 2 glasses. 2. Security footage showed that Jennifer had checked in alone. Yet witnesses swore they saw her speaking with a man in the lobby, tall, clean-shaven, wearing a black trench coat. No one ever saw him again. Holmes' team began their sweep. There were no personal items, no toothbrush, no makeup, no wallet. Even the tags on her clothes had been cut off. It was as if she had erased herself before she arrived. The autopsy revealed she was in her early 30s, athletic, and appeared well-fed. There were traces of gun oil on her hands, suggesting she'd handled firearms before. Military or intelligence background, perhaps? Yet no record of her existed in any European database. Interpol was called in. They ran facial recognition across embassies and military archives. Nothing. No missing person matched her face. No embassy claimed her. It was as if this woman had never existed before walking into that hotel. But as investigators dug deeper, the contradictions piled up. The keycard logs showed multiple entries into her room after midnight, yet no one on security cameras entered or exited the floor during that time. And then came the biggest question of all. If the door was locked from the inside, how did the other person leave? Detective Holm sat in the dim light of the interrogation room with a hotel manager. "You're telling me no one accessed the 28th floor?" The manager nodded nervously. "No one except her. That's what the system says." Holm tapped the desk. "Then either your system is lying or someone here knows how to disappear." Days turned into weeks, and the case began to draw attention in the press. The woman with no name, the tabloids called her. Conspiracy theorists claimed she was a spy. Others believed she was part of a black market arms deal gone wrong. But then a single phone call came in. A retired German journalist claimed he'd seen a woman who looked exactly like Jennifer years earlier in Brussels, entering a building known for covert intelligence meetings during the Cold War. He remembered her distinct cheekbones, her calm expression, the same face. Detective Holmes' instinct sharpened. If that was true, this wasn't suicide. This was execution. He returned to the evidence room that night, staring at her belongings. Everything had been catalogued. Everything except one thing, the Bible found in her nightstand. It had been logged as unremarkable. But when he flipped through its pages, a folded note fell out. A small piece of hotel stationery. 5 numbers scribbled in blue ink. 2805, 2805, 2805, 1107. Room numbers. Holmes' pulse quickened. He ordered security to open room 1107, the only other room that matched the pattern. The room was spotless, empty, except in the vent behind the dresser, Something metallic glimmered under his flashlight. A second gun. And this one had fingerprints. The Shadow Man. If you're still watching, you're one of the few who can handle what comes next. Because this case, it's about to go from strange to something darker than anyone expected. Don't blink. Detective Eric Holmes stood under the sterile glow of the evidence room lights, his breath fogging the clear bag that held the second gun. It was a Walther PPK military issue, the kind once favored by intelligence operatives during the Cold War. The weapon's serial number had been filed off, but the fingerprints were clean and distinct. Someone hadn't been careful, or maybe they had wanted to be found. The prints led to a name. Jonas Strom, a Norwegian national with a quiet past and an explosive history. Former Special Forces, dishonorably discharged in 1991 for classified violations. After that, he vanished. No tax records. No address. No family. Just gone. Holmes' pulse tightened as he stared at the file photo. It matched witness descriptions of the man seen with Jennifer in the hotel lobby. Tall, angular, the kind of face that belonged in the background until suddenly it didn't. The next morning, police raided the only known address linked to Strom, an abandoned cabin outside Oslo. What they found wasn't a hideout. It was a shrine. Maps of Europe covered the walls. Dozens of newspaper clippings detailed disappearances, unsolved murders, and political scandals from the 1980s and early 90s. In the center, pinned by a rusted knife, was a photo of Jennifer Fairgate. Her eyes stared blankly from the wall, the same image now burned into every investigator's mind. Next to the photo lay a faded prison ID card. It belonged to Jonas Strom. Holmes read the print at the bottom. Sentenced to 20 years. Released early 1993. Prison had changed him. According to records, Strom had spent most of his time in solitary confinement for fighting other inmates. Yet, within the prison walls, his reputation had grown. He was known as the Phantom. Rumors claimed he ran an underground network, trading information, smuggling notes between high-profile prisoners, even helping them fake identities for life on the outside. If that was true, Jennifer might not have been a random guest. She could have been part of something much larger, a ghost operation buried in post-Cold War politics. But Holmes' mind kept returning to the Bible, to that strange sequence of room numbers. Why would she hide it? Why write 2805 3 times, then 1107? It was deliberate repetition, like a signal. Then came a new lead, a call from the Belgian police. A detective in Brussels claimed to have found another woman registered under the same fake surname, Fairgate, 3 years earlier. That woman had also vanished, leaving behind a room with an open suitcase, a gun, and an erased identity. The difference? That case had been ruled a homicide. The bullet matched the same caliber as the one used in Oslo. Holmes realized he wasn't chasing a single mystery. He was chasing a pattern. The Oslo Plaza wasn't the beginning. It was the end. He returned to the hotel, pacing the carpeted hallways of the 28th floor. Every sound felt amplified. The hum of air vents, the distant echo of elevator doors. Then, at room 2805, something caught his eye. A maintenance worker had opened the ceiling panel above the door, revealing a narrow crawl space running along the entire floor. It was barely wide enough for a person to crawl through, but it connected every room in the hallway. Holmes' flashlight cut through the dust. Scuff marks lined the metal duct. Fresh. Someone had moved through there recently. Someone who could have left room 2805 after the shot, locking the door from inside using the security latch trick detectives had seen spies use decades ago. Suddenly, the theory made sense. Jennifer didn't kill herself. She'd been staged. Hours later, forensics confirmed a chilling detail. The fingerprints on the second gun didn't match Strom at all. They belonged to an unknown male, but traces of Jennifer's DNA were on the gun's handle. Meaning, whoever killed her had used her own weapon. Holmes stared at the report. So he killed her with her own gun, then left it as a message, he muttered. That night, Holmes drove back to his office, exhausted but wired. The case had become personal. He pored over Jennifer's file again, focusing on her fake identity. The address she'd used in Belgium led to a shuttered safe house, one known to have ties to intelligence defectors during the early 1990s. And then his phone buzzed. An unknown number. "Detective Holmes," a deep voice asked. The accent was European, calm, deliberate. "You're asking the wrong questions. Jennifer Fairgate wasn't supposed to die. She was supposed to disappear again." Holmes froze. "Who is this?" "You want to know who she was?" the voice continued. "Find the man she was going to meet in room 1107. He's still alive, but he won't be for long." The line went dead. Holmes' eyes darted to the clock, 11:47 p.m. Room 1107 was sealed since the discovery of the second gun. He grabbed his coat, called his partner, and raced back to the Oslo Plaza. By the time he reached the room, the door was ajar. A thin line of light spilled into the hallway. He stepped inside slowly. The air smelled like metal and smoke. On the bed lay a phone, still glowing. A single message on the screen. "You're next, detective." And beside it, a Polaroid photograph of himself, taken from the hallway camera 10 minutes ago. The truth behind room 2805. If you've made it this far, you're the kind of viewer who doesn't back down from the dark side of truth. So before we dive in, hit subscribe, because after this story, you'll never look at a locked hotel room the same way again. Detective Eric Holmes stood frozen in room 1107, staring at the Polaroid of himself. 10 minutes old. Someone was inside the hotel, watching him, anticipating every move. He swept the room with his gun drawn. Empty bathroom. Closet ajar. Balcony door cracked open, the cold night air cutting through the silence. He stepped outside, scanning the other balconies that lined the glass tower. The Oslo skyline glittered below, 1,000 lights reflected in the dark fjord. But Holmes' eyes fixed on one detail, a flicker of red light, the faint glow of a cigarette, 2 floors up. Someone was still there. He rushed back inside, calling for backup. By the time security swept the upper floors, the smoker was gone, but on the railing where the ember had glowed, a small metallic object gleamed. A keycard, scratched and dented, but with a room number etched faintly into the plastic. 2805. Whoever this was, they were mocking him. The hotel was sealed off that night. Guests evacuated, hallways barricaded. But the press had already caught wind of it, detective targeted in Oslo Plaza murder case. The world suddenly cared again about the woman who checked in but never checked out. Holmes barely slept. He replayed everything. The call, the code, the second gun, the hidden crawl space. Each piece felt deliberate, almost theatrical, as if someone wanted this mystery to live forever, not be solved. Then, a breakthrough came from Interpol's liaison in Brussels. A decrypted message, pulled from an old intelligence archive, matched Jennifer Fairgate's handwriting. It was from 1993, and it was addressed to J. Strom. "If they find me, it ends. If they don't, we win." Holmes' heart pounded. It wasn't a love letter. It was a warning. Jennifer and Strom weren't enemies. They were partners. And if she had tried to disappear again in Oslo, maybe someone had decided she knew too much. 2 days later, Norwegian police located Strom, or what was left of him. His body was found in a burnt-out car in the woods near the Swedish border. 2 bullets to the chest, execution style. No wallet, no phone, just a hotel key, room 2805. The trail was collapsing, and yet the picture was sharpening. Holmes dug deeper into prison records. During his sentence, Strom had been part of a covert intelligence smuggling network, trading secrets between ex-Eastern Bloc officers and Western buyers. When he was released early, it wasn't mercy, it was payment. He had built a bridge between old Cold War operatives and new European black market players. Jennifer Fairgate wasn't a random operative. She was the courier. And Oslo? Oslo was the drop site. But something went wrong. The man in room 1107 was supposed to collect classified documents from her, not her life. The second gun was planted to make it look like suicide, and when she tried to run, she was silenced. The killer crawled through the duct, vanished through the service elevator, and left behind a trail so clean it almost felt designed to last forever. Holmes leaned back in his chair, the case file spread open before him. It all made sense now, except for one thing, the phone call. She was supposed to disappear again. That meant she hadn't been killed by an enemy. She had been erased by her own side. The next morning, Holmes received a package with no return address. Inside, a USB drive and a single sheet of paper. On it, one sentence. You were never investigating her. She was investigating you. Holmes' blood ran cold. He plugged the drive into a secure terminal. Hundreds of documents filled the screen, surveillance photos, case notes, even transcripts of his own phone calls over the last year. Every investigation he'd led, every contact he'd made, recorded and cataloged. Jennifer Fairgate's last assignment was him. He realized too late that the woman in room 2805 hadn't been a victim at all. She'd been part of an operation to expose corruption inside Norwegian intelligence. Someone inside his department had betrayed her, framing her as a suicide to cover their tracks. And now, by chasing her ghost, Holmes had gotten too close to the truth. A knock at his office door broke the silence. His partner entered, face pale. "Eric, there's someone here to see you." Holmes looked up. In the doorway stood a woman. Blonde hair, sharp blue eyes. The same features, the same calm presence. It was her, Jennifer Fairgate, alive. Before Holmes could speak, she raised a finger to her lips and whispered, "They're still listening." Then she placed a small device on his desk, a phone, recording light blinking red, and said, "You were right about room 1107, but wrong about who pulled the trigger." Holmes leaned forward. "Then who did?" She met his eyes, her voice barely above a whisper. "You did." The room spun. Flashbulb memories. The night of the gunshot, the sleepless haze, the missing hours in his report he could never explain. A gap in time, an erased camera feed. Jennifer stepped back into the shadows, her voice steady. "They needed someone to take the blame if the operation failed. They chose you." And just like that, she was gone. Holmes sat in silence as sirens wailed outside. His badge felt heavy in his hand, like a verdict. On the desk, the phone stopped blinking, the recording complete. He hit play. Her final words echoed through the room. "The woman who checked in but never checked out was never me." The screen cut to static. If you thought this case was over, think again. Because someone out there still knows what really happened on the 28th floor. And when the truth finally comes out, it won't be in a courtroom. It'll be here. Subscribe because the next story might just be connected to this one.